This is TWiT.
An interesting case of WhatsApp security being broken. We've talked about, of course, a lot about messaging security. We did a podcast on the Signal app, where, as I have said a number of times, as I was reading through the detailed protocol spec, I remember thinking initially, boy, this thing is over-designed. And then as I got into the details more, I realized why the bullet point features that were mentioned at the beginning were there, and I came away with a lot of respect for the Signal protocol. The problem is it's still up to the implementer to deal with some of the details. And at least WhatsApp has failed in one way to handle some of this. This came to light on the 10th, which was last Thursday. An Amazon employee, Abby Fuller, tweeted, "Logged into WhatsApp with a new phone number today, and the message history from the previous number's owner was right there. This doesn't seem right." And apparently there was, I don't know how many people followed her. The news got out. It drew some attention to her tweets. She followed up with additional tweets. She said, I'm wondering how many other times it's happened. Like, does whoever has my old number now have my WhatsApp history? And she also tweeted, in response to others, yes, it was a new device. No, it wasn't secondhand. It was not a secondhand SIM. Yes, I'm sure they weren't my messages or groups that I was added to. Yes, they were in plain text. I'm sure it's my new phone number. It was not restored from a backup. Okay, so we know what happened. The apparent leakage of someone else's WhatsApp messaging stream into Abby's phone should raise privacy concerns. As we know, WhatsApp uses our phone number as our authentication in lieu of username and password. The argument has been that WhatsApp only sends to that number, and so our phone is our authenticating device. So the fact that it just uses our phone and our phone number is not a vulnerability. But what exactly happens when phone numbers change hands? It's clear from an online FAQ that WhatsApp is aware of this issue. The problem is that its users aren't aware, and that WhatsApp has made everything so simple and automatic that it's difficult to then ask users to pay attention to something that's far from obvious, because its security implications have been deliberately hidden in order to make the system easy to use. On their FAQ, I've got a link to it in the show notes for anyone who's interested, they have a subject, changing phone numbers and or phones. And then the subhead, changing your WhatsApp phone number. Before you stop using a particular phone number, you should migrate your WhatsApp account to the new number. For a simple way to do this, use our change number feature. By using this feature, you'll be able to migrate your account information, including your profile information, as well as your groups. They say make sure your contacts delete your old number from their phone's address book and input your new number, as it is a common practice for mobile providers to recycle numbers. You should expect that your former number will be reassigned. In other words, this is a complete failure of the privacy guarantees that WhatsApp is promoting as a consequence of the fact that it's phone number tied, yet people are not necessarily tied to their phone numbers when they change. So, Abby's tweets indicated that the chat history she received on her new phone was, quote, not full, but definitely actual threads/DM conversations, she said elsewhere. So we know that WhatsApp doesn't archive messaging on their servers, but we also know that, and really WhatsApp is Signal because it's the Signal protocol, and this is something that we explained and covered when I talked about the Signal protocol on our podcast of that name. We know that undelivered messages will persist in encrypted form for up to 45 days. The other problem is that once a device's SIM and phone number have been used to establish the local device's encryption keys, the SIM can be removed. Yet that device, now absent any cellular telephony, can continue to use the encryption keys it still has until such time as the phone number associated with its absent SIM becomes assigned to some other WhatsApp user. So that means the real-time binding between the phone number and WhatsApp encryption is weak. I mean, there is no real-time binding. It's a first-use establishment, which does create a rather large window during which time there's a presumption that you still have this phone number, even though it's on a device that may have no phone number at all, no cellular telephony service. And so that creates a rather glaring loophole. When you combine that with storage and catch-up delivery of pending messages, it creates an opportunity for some significant privacy leakage. So that's this is the way WhatsApp operates. It also trusts new encryption keys broadcasted by a contact and uses them to automatically re-encrypt undelivered messages and send them to the recipient without informing or leaving an opportunity for the sender to verify the recipient. Again, it's doing a lot of things behind the scenes so that it just works. Unfortunately, we're seeing a perfect example of how this can be broken. And of course, this brings us back to my number one complaint about ease of use versus security and privacy trade-offs, which we inevitably encounter anytime someone else manages our keys for us. This made me go back and visit Threema. I haven't looked at the Threema website for a while. And I've always liked them because they keep this in the hands of their users. Yes, there's a little more setup in the beginning. You are asked to go, remember that Threema is the one that has the green, yellow, and red sort of stoplight signal for the level of authentication of the other person's keys that you have achieved. So yes, a little more setup. Also, it's not free. It's a few dollars in order to purchase this.
And it's not open source.
Is it still not?
No, they use NaCl, but we don't know how they use NaCl, right?
Okay. Anyway, so
unfortunately, Signal also uses a phone number. I wish they didn't.
I know, and yes,
I think it's
and
a drawback.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the same problem WhatsApp does, I'm sure, but because once the keys are invalidated, they say, well, that's that,
Right. So, as I said at the top of the show, if I were to coin a phrase to be a perfect corollary to our TNO, trust no one, it would be, if you're not managing your own keys, someone else is. Keys are the way, encryption keys are the way our systems work today. They need to be somewhere, and someone needs to manage them. Someone needs to create them, curate them, verify them, use them, destroy them. And if you're not doing that, then that's being done somewhere else. So, again, it's a perfect corollary to trust no one. If I'm using some sort of communications tool, and again, I'm nothing I'm doing needs it. But if someone's really concerned about privacy, you want something where you're managing your own keys. And Leo, I would agree with you that it should also be open source, and as we know, have been audited by, closely looked at by people who have an adversarial role.
They claim they're audited, but you have to sign an NDA to audit it. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's a commercial program. Let's just say it.
Yep.
Call a spade a spade. Yeah.